Join me in welcoming a person who loves Greece and whom Greece loves. Deputy Prime Minister Qubad Taalăbani.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome to us.
It's an absolute pleasure to be back here again. And I thank the President for the kind invitation. And it's my second Delphi Forum. And I'm delighted to be back in a beautiful country, with beautiful people and good friends.
You know, Mr. Taalăbani is first of all, okay, he cannot say that, but I can. He's first of all a reformer. Why? Because he's a champion of digital transformation. He's a champion of gender equity. He's a champion of religious tolerance in a very difficult region and in very turbulent times. So he's against stereotypes, and he's bold enough to take his society, the society you're leading over, a step forward. Right, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister?
That's very kind of you to say.
So I was studying about Kurdistan, and you know, the first question I want to ask is the following. So you're a landlocked country in a very complex international environment and regional environment. You have Turkey, you have Iran, you have, all foreign powers. So what is your role, Kurdistan's role and your personal role as a Kurd in doing some leap forward for your people?
Well, you said we are landlocked and we have complicated neighbors and we have a difficult geopolitical situation in a region that is turmoil and quite turbulent, and we have to navigate this. And it's evident to anyone watching that we are not the most powerful in the area, and we never strive to be. We have to survive by being smarter, by having wise policies, by having good relations, by reaching out to all sides, by not taking one side or another, be it in a geopolitical conflict, a regional conflict, or a local conflict. So that's, for us, the imperative is surviving. The imperative is making the most of a very difficult situation. And the imperative is trying to provide the best services to our people that have gone through significant atrocities in history.
You know, your region is a region, full of resources, full of oil, full of gas, and especially your city, Süleymaniyye. You know, if I'm not mistaken, you have 3% of the global resources in gas. So in Europe, the public debate is dominated by, strategic autonomy and the need to diversify our energy resources and stuff. Can you be an alternative?
No. I'm sorry to say. Primarily because we have significant domestic energy needs. Yes, we sit upon a very large gas reserve that is untapped and undeveloped. It is being developed now, but we still live in a country that doesn't have 24 hours of electricity. So for us, the priority has to be the domestic needs. And if we can meet those domestic needs, have 24 hours of electricity, meet the industrial needs that our factories demand, get away from environment-damaging fuels, move towards cleaner natural gas as we power our industries, I'm sure in time, as we develop, there will be extra reserves that could be exported, that could be transferred into electricity, that could be swapped, that we could be more strategic about. I wish I could sit here and solve the world's energy problems by saying we can be an alternative, but I think it is unwise, unrealistic, and irresponsible to say that.
I've heard you saying that US, you didn't have these resources. Why that statement?
We've all heard of Dutch disease. Apologies for any Dutch people here. I didn't coin it. They themselves coined it. But natural resources, oil, gas, has a tendency to make governments lazy. And at a time of high oil prices, it's very easy to be overly dependent on oil. We have been, both as a country, as a federal country, also as a region. And that has been the reason why many other important sectors of our society have been neglected, and why our economy is completely dependent on the mood of the market. Oil prices are high, revenues are higher. oil prices are low, we have a massive deficit. So we have to be thankful that we have this resource, but we have to be much smarter in diversifying from this resource and relying on the natural beauty that Kurdistan offers, not unlike Greece, make use of the potential for tourism, make use of the very fertile land and good climate that we have, focus on agriculture and agro-industries, realize that we are not just a landlocked, isolated, sub-sovereign within a turbulent country, but realize that we could potentially provide food for the entire country. We have a market of over 40 million people that we could provide food for. So that, for us, that's why I wish we didn't have the oil. Because if we didn't have the oil, we would be focusing more on these other sectors, and that's a little late, but we are now doing that.
We discussed about the complex regional environment, and now I will get you to the complex domestic environment in Iraq.
Yeah.
And I know there are some, disputes, differences, let's say, with Baghdad, and also some differences inside Kurdistan about how we're dealing with Baghdad. So what's the right way to deal with Baghdad, actually?
So I think that the theme of this conference has been a paradigm shift. And I believe it's fair to say that we have had a paradigm shift of our own. Whereas in years past, we were much more independent thinking, looking towards political independence, looking towards economic independence. And this was great. Emotionally, as a Kurd, everybody wants that. But the geopolitics has a way of hurting you, as a way of making you realize that you have to be smarter and less emotional. So the paradigm shift for many of us is now, rather than be separate from Baghdad, let's be influential in Baghdad. Rather than be in conflict with Baghdad, let's make Baghdad be less confrontational with the region. Go back to what we used to be like in 2003, 4, 5, and 6, when we were kingmakers in Baghdad. The Kurds used to decide who the prime minister of Iraq was. The Kurds would be the final say in major policy disputes. But from, let's say, I would say the last 10 years or so, we have lessened that focus. And we need to go back to that, because that's where our strength is. If we can be influential in Iraq and make sure Iraq is a stable country, a sensible country that has sound policies, regional, domestic, and international, that can secure Kurdistan's future. That can secure Kurdistan's economic future. That can secure Kurdistan's physical security. And I think this is the paradigm shift that we have forcefully or eventually had to take. And I believe we are now supporting the Sudani government. We are trying to make the federal government better policies. And I think that's for us a change, because maybe if I had come here 5 years ago, I would have been saying something else.
I have many questions, but I have to prioritize. So, gender equality, that's a term not very popular in the West, not very popular in the Middle East. But you're championing gender equality.
I believe in equality between men and women in Kurdistan. I believe that women have played, will play, and can play an even more important role in society, in government, in business, in security, in all sectors of life. And that's been a personal belief. I was lucky. I grew up in a very liberal family with very strong women in my family, which probably helped shape my views. And I'm not alone. There are many other men in Kurdistan that believe that there is equality between men and women. In fact, the Kurdish term for husband and wife is hawser, which means co-head. Which, if you think about the root of the word, co-head of a family, it is about as gender equality as you can get. But that tells you our culture is not one where we have, the Kurdish history has never been one where women have been marginalized. Kurdish history is full of strong, powerful women that have shaped the Kurdistan of today. But lately, for whatever reason, we've seen more violence against women, we've seen more gender-based violence, we've seen increases of domestic violence. COVID had a massive impact on this, where people were stuck at home. So getting our society to be more aware that this is not the way forward, that if we want an effective government, that if we want an effective society, that if we want a strong economy, there really has to be equality.
You know, Kurdish culture is a lot about equality, but your governance is a lot about digitization. So what are you doing to get public services in society and digitally?
It's been a real focus of mine ever since I went back to Kurdistan about 10 years ago, because I came back and saw a very dysfunctional government, very bureaucratic government, overly dependent on paper, overly dependent on manual processes. And when you have a big government, when you have a bureaucratic government, it spreads corruption. It is the easiest way for corruption to manifest is through bureaucracy. If it takes you 17 steps to get something done, it takes one person in that chain of 17 to be corrupt to hold the whole process up. So I focused on a streamlining process where we streamline government services, try to reduce the number of steps, but also to make them more transparent by digitizing them. If it's digital and if it's transparent and everybody knows what you actually need to do to renew a driver's license, what you need to do to register a company, and it's open for everybody to see, it's very hard for somebody to be corrupt in a chain of 3. In a chain of 17, a corrupt official can hide in that process. But when it takes 3 steps to get something done, that official has to be very brave to try to be corrupt in that process. So I believe that streamlining and digitization is the best way to root out corruption. A lot of governments focus on the prosecution side of things, and they like to catch the big fish and put them on TV and say, here we go, we found a corrupt minister. That doesn't solve corruption. You make a better, more efficient government. That's how you limit corruption, and you make corruption more difficult to manifest and to spread.
So there are some rumors spread that you're assisting Kurds from some other parts, and some states have become also hostile towards the Kurdistan region. So what do you respond to them, and how you will resolve this?
Vasily was very diplomatic. I think he was referring to the Kurds of Syria in this process. We have a bond with the Kurds of Syria. We're in the same fight with them against terrorism. We fought ISIS together. They're fighting ISIS in Syria. We fought and are still fighting ISIS in Iraq. And that we've never been shy about expressing our solidarity with the Kurds of Syria to fight terrorism. That has a tendency to upset some of our neighbors, and we just have to continue to explain to them that this is not against them. We want a good relationship with all of our neighbors. That is the quickest and best way to secure the stability and the future of the Kurdistan region. We can't be at odds with Turkey. We can't be at odds with Iran. We shouldn't be at odds with our host country, Iraq. So that's, for us, that's the vision, and we need to be transparent. And we're very good friends with the US government, successive administrations. We tell them about our relationship with Iran. We tell the Iranians about our relationship with the Americans. We don't do these things secretly.
Well, if I had to put a subtitle in your position, I would say, navigating complexities.
Navigating complexities, yes. I wish we had a sea that we could navigate out of through the sea, but...
We thank the Deputy Prime Minister for being with us for a second year in a row. I have to say that you're very Clinton-esque, so which is very important, for such forums. And we look forward to having you for a third year.
It is my pleasure. I hope to be back here, and I hope to have better news, to bring better news with me from Kurdistan, to tell you that we have made much better progress with the opportunities that we've had, to tell you that we've improved our economy, to be able to tell you that we've made progress in streamlining our bureaucracy and in settling this endless oil dispute with Baghdad and making progress in diversifying our economy. I hope to be able to tell you that, but we also have a complex internal situation. We have an election coming up as well, which is always fun. I know you have one here, and good luck to all sides. I know one of our neighbors is having one as well. Good luck to all sides. So we'll see. Maybe next year, who knows? You might have another deputy prime minister from another party sitting here.
You might be the prime minister, of course. We don't know. No one knows.
Thank you. Thank you very much.